Michigan. Winter winds chill the skin. Setting sun runs west again. Calls come my way. Kiss your ma and hug your friends. This isn't how your story ends.
Yeah, I was going to see if you could just tell me your story.
Well, you know, it's always easy to say if I haven't got the cameo.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you wanted to know some of these questions, and one of it, where I was born, a little town of, actually, it's Lincoln, Nebraska, but it was a suburb of Lincoln, and it became Havelock was the name, and it was 1923, according to what they told me. But anyhow, that's where it was at, and we lived there until I think it was, I know what year, 1942, when we left there, and we left there mostly because the defense jobs had started. It would come out of the Depression, and everybody was broke and starved to death, and them jobs opened up. And my dad was a carpenter, and he got on building that Lincoln Air Base, Army Air Base, and it was big work. So I was at home, so I got on as a laborer there. And
How old were you then?
and was when I think about 18, and you can figure from 20. From 23, was born in 23 and was in 42, we started doing that, so whatever it would be.
Okay, so 19.
Okay, it might have been, I didn't think.
19, 20.
I know it wasn't 20 because it was 20 when I got married, and that was in 43, see. So anyhow, making much difference. I got on at that air base, but before that, my brother went to the service in 1941 when the war arose, and see, used also one of my church jobs, real good job. It was in 41. I took his job when he went to the service. The boss wanted somebody in there, and he tried to ask if.
Sorry.
Were you about it ready?
Yep, ready when you are.
Well, we ended up, was talking about the jobs, and my brother had a good job in cutting auto glass and installing it in the cars, and that was a big thing.
So this was, sorry, going back, this was your first job? You were talking about how you
well,
got it?
really first decent job, yeah. You know, guy always has the job doing somebody's guard or something like that, but
yeah.
it was a good, steady job. See, I quit high school and went to the first semester of the 10th grade, and I saw I knew more than the teacher did, so I quit. And anyhow, my brother got me on that work, and it was a good job, and it was a good trade, because it wasn't everybody could cut glass, and it took off the patterns and all that. But anyhow, that was my really first job. But then that went over about a little better than a year when we got my dad got on this defense jobs, and as a carpenter, so I went along with it. And when we got a Lincoln Air Base done, then went into when we was transferred to Cheyenne, Wyoming. So we went there, and built that air base. And it inhabited on several air bases.
Now this was with your dad. You were building those
Yeah.
air bases with your dad.
But now I'll start back up. Oh, you don't want that rattling, okay? I just hope where I can see it. And anyhow, that was there years. But then we back up before we left Lincoln during the Depression. Why, that's another story back there. You know, Depression days, we were starving. And I remember one time my dad went down to welfare to you get in there and they would help you get commodities and coal for your children, but couldn't get no help. And I was pretty talented. My dad, he didn't give up.
You couldn't get no what?
No help. Government help. So starving, and heat and cold was cold, and the house was cold, and everything wrong. We just finally found out. Well, he went out and sat at this place where they supposed to sign you up, and went and waiting and sitting there. I think I know at least 3 days, maybe the fourth, but he didn't come home, and we didn't know what was wrong. When he come home, he was riding in a coal truck, had a log hole, and a big bunch of groceries, and that was the thank you Lord. But he was told a howdy every day. He'd sit there. Well, Mister, you'll have to go up. So he leave. But he sat there. They come toward him. No, I'm not going home. It's warmer in here. And it's not in my house. I'm just going to stay here for the night. Boy, that's going around. Finally, Mr. So-and-so would see him. He went in and that's what he got, by the way. But
how old were you then?
Well, see, that was in 1935.
Okay.
So,
and you said you were born in 28?
Mm-hmm. And 23.
23.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So,
about 12 years old.
yeah.
Or so.
Mm-hmm. Anyhow, I remember all that. We had a really worst time in there. So, and back to about then, well, even have to back up further than that, because in 1928 or 29, we moved from Lincoln up to Martland, Nebraska. That's up in the panhandle of Nebraska. My grandfather was dying with cancer on the face, and they need help. So we moved up there, and then that's where we were at. And we was up there for 7 years, and that we back to Lincoln when the Depression went on. That we couldn't get anything, because when we go back there, and newcomers couldn't get nothing. But that's what happened why we was back here. So anyhow, when we went up to Nebraska, Martland, Nebraska, because father had the cancer, to help him. And someone thing I wanted to tell you, we was up there in the dead of the winter. Oh yeah, no.
You want to hang out? This might be helpful, or are you doing something?
But when we moved up there, we had a 1924, Baby Overland was the name of the car.
A baby what?
Baby Overland.
Overland?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, Overland.
And it was a four-door was still a convertible, four-door convertible. Oh, that's really good. Canvas top of over there, and side curtain on the windows, and we drove. It was 400 and some miles. Lincoln up to Maudlin when we went. And it was so cold, and you about just hold to death getting up there in that snow. But then I'm going to say, when we got there, then we had to go on another 20 miles, and the road was all snowed in, no car to move or nothing. My uncle come from that farm down to Marsland with a sleigh. And
like a horse in the sleigh?
He must hold it. What done them there, what any time, took a regular farm wagon, take the wheels off, and put runners on each pan, and they put us down in that double bed wagon box, and covered it up with all kinds of tarps and coating and stuff. And my mother and my brother and I and my sister was, I know she couldn't have been over a year old, all in there. And my dad and my uncle set up on the heating stove, and we went cross country in that sleigh for 20 miles. And I remember that.
And there was horses?
Huh?
Horses
Oh,
pulling?
yeah, a team of horses. And the cars couldn't gear, and they would buck a snowdrift and stuff, nobody care. Yeah. Well, I kind
I'm
of,
going to tell you what you want, it's kind of crinkly, I think it might be new.
yeah. Well, I was using it to kind of,
It's got notes on there.
but anyhow, that's where I got up there. And was after that we went back to Lincoln. After that, my grandfather died, and then my uncle went up on the drove the wagon and the sled. He also died. So we was up for 7 years visiting my grandmother and my aunt. She was a kid, and they had a ranch, a big cattle ranch. And so my dad had to take over all that, see. So we had quite a time.
What did your dad, now this was before you built runways, huh?
Built what?
This would have been before you guys were
Oh,
doing the
yeah,
runways with the government work?
yeah.
'Cause you were younger
The
then.
CSSC was in about 1930 when we come here. Because I know my grandfather had what we call a brand new 1928 Chevrolet, and so it had to be about 2 years old then, but he had bought it new. But I guess that figure out what I can do there.
No, that's fine. So that was when you were a kid. But what now you said you started doing government work with Grandpa, but your dad doing runways.
Yeah.
Now, how long did you guys do that?
Well, them things started in little after 41, starting into 42, and we done that. We built that one in Lincoln, we built one in Cheyenne, and we built one in another part of the Nebraska, I forget the name of the town. And then they transferred it to Pocatello, Idaho, and we had money in our pocket by that time, and we didn't want to go, so we went on to Idaho and Caldwell, and that's where we settled down. That's where we moved out there.
How did you and great grandpa, when you guys were moving around to build all these air bases, where did you live?
He built a 16-foot travel trailer, like you'd call a travel trailer a day. He built it all himself, and we all lived in that.
How many of you were there?
Well, we was, my brother was the servants, of course, so it me and my sister, Yvonne, and my dad, mother and dad, so it's 4 of us in there.
Okay.
You make a bed down in the couch on one end, and there in the table, we made that into another bed.
So your dad made the travel trailer?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I was thinking the guy, because did you work, was there a guy you were working for or working with, or did you guys do this, you and your dad together?
Just together.
Oh, it's just, okay, I thought you did that with another guy or something.
I often wonder how we slept myself, but I know my sister slept on the floor, and my mother, dad in one end, and me in the other, and not only that, my cousin got with us and working with us, and he also slept there. So now we're done, we did.
Like the Brady Bunch in there.
That, yeah.
So now that was for World War II, but you weren't in the service yet. But you...
No, I wasn't in the service. We moved to Idaho, and my dad and I, after fashion, went to work in Nessa, Oregon, and that was in a sugar factory, and they was making sure I had sugar beets and stuff. Did a good job, but I worked just 2-3 months, and that's when I was drafted in the service.
Okay, so that was, how old were you then?
Well,
was that before or after you?
I tell you how I turned 20 in the dirt. I think that's a month after it was deducted. I turned 20. Mm-hmm.
So now, because isn't that pretty close to when you met Grandma?
Well, I was getting that here, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It says, how did you meet Grandma? Well, if you will, I went into the service in 43. I come out in 43, 5 months later with a medical discharge. When I got out, I was come back to Idaho. Well, I thought was a girlfriend in Nebraska. That was back in Lincoln, something like 400 and some miles. So I hopped the train. Then I was out of the service, went back there, and my dad hadn't sold his house yet. It'd been several years.
Yeah, when you say hop the train, did you like buy a ticket?
Oh, no, I bought a ticket to come back.
You have to ask.
I had this vision of you in a boxcar.
No, I was up there, and I lived by myself in his house in Lincoln for 30 days, and found the girlfriend, and she was my girlfriend, but she'd been writing to me about outside of it. But I went, friends, other of my friends there, and everybody, I had a good time there. So anyhow, he said, how did I meet Sonny? When I come back at 7:30, I come back, I had bought a car in Lincoln. I drove back to Idaho, Caldwell, Idaho, cold back here. Well, I no more than got there. Somebody got a hold of me, and he said, we want you in your car. I said, what in the world? But we all got stealing watermelon. And got
Say that last part again?
it's stealing watermelons.
Oh, see.
And they needed somebody to take it. Well, it happened that Sonny was in the group. I never met her, but that's how I met her. It's a watermelon patch, stealing watermelons. Now come.
Stealing. They were
Stealing
like,
watermelons.
Stealing.
Steal watermelons.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's how I met her, and of course we
So
only
you
knew.
guys were rambunctious from the start.
We only knew each other 5 weeks, and only went together 3 of those weeks and got married. I would advise it, but it worked good for us.
So how did the family think about that? They thought it was too fast.
You what?
So the family thought that was a little quick?
Oh, well, I was so independent, I didn't ask nobody or tell nobody. That didn't what I wanted.
Did Grandpa and Grandma know you got married?
And the only way he knew, I they were in field work for my uncle. He run field crews, like picking potatoes and chopping beets, all that kind of stuff. So my aunt and uncle was paying them, and Sonny and I was going to walk in the house, and Sonny had never ever met him, but and we walked in the house, and she was putting out paper money and for the week, and I was looking, and we wandered by. We had a ring home picked out, not enough money to pay for it, but I was working, and so I told him, well, I needed much, I don't know, dollar bills or paper dollars, and I picked up this and this, and I thought this and this, and they were just open, and it was all they knew how to pay it back. And Sonny, and so yeah, Sonny didn't know him, but it just, and this one, she says. I had no one anymore than introduced her, and she, and then listened to, she said, well, we got a ring, and I think the very next week I paid him back, but that was a different story, but it was kind of funny how it happened.
Yeah.
But then we just got, that very week we got married, and that my dad had bought a place with just a little Quonset building on it, and they were living in a trailer and the house. So we had rented a cabin like we used to do, like a motel, but it was just cabins. We rented that for a week for $5. But that money was scarce. Yeah. But so, and her sister come down to the cabin on her bicycle, and that was about the second day. His daddy said, "You get up here, live in this trailer. You're not going to pay for a dead horse on renting." I remember that was what he's always said. He figured renting was just paying for a dead horse. So we went up there, but didn't have a job as I was just picking apples and few things we do. Hammering on the door early one morning, and one of my friends said, "You want a job? Get up to Burns Chevrolet. You want a record driver." So I went up and hired as a record driver, and that's who I got in garage work.
Now, where was that at, you said?
In Caldwell, Idaho. Mm-hmm.
Burns Chevrolet. You never drove a record before?
No. And that was another thing. After about, several months later, the boss and I was standing out in the sun, just talking a little bit. He might have said, "Where did you drive a record for to start here?" Well, I said, "About down at the Ford garage." I said, "I was washing cars, and that was my job, washing cars, and the records were in the way, so I moved it." He says, "That's so?" I said, "Oh, I didn't lie to you." And no, you didn't. But then he said, I asked him, "Well, any problem?" No, you've been doing fine, no problem at all, but it just should be put me a big mind of that something happened. Well, like I said, I was always in the bonnet, after nobody, nothing to do it, so I always made it.
You drove the record for a while, but you said then you started doing the body work.
Yeah, boss liked me and pretty, because he kept promoting this stuff a little better, and finally one day he said, "I got two opportunities where you can go to parts department and learn that trade, or into the body shop." Well, I can hardly read. I don't think all them books do me much too. That's when I took the body shop, and that's where I got into it.
Okay. And did they just train you on your job there?
Oh yeah, on the job training.
Okay.
I worked about a month under another guy, and I thought that's pretty good at it. And I hit the boss for another raise. He'd already beat me too. Then he turned the body man in that training on. He said, "He any good to you at all?" Well, yeah, he did good. So he said, it was getting $20 a week there, and he would you give you $2.50 for helping you. If you can, we'll $2.50, maybe making $5 a week on top. So that would done. Then about another hour after him, there was another raise. He said, "You think it's so good? Get you some tools. I'll put you on percentage." And the very next week, I got the $50 check, and that's where I kept it going from bonding work. But then you were talking about I guess I talked a little about, but about kids.
Do you need are you doing good, Grandpa? Do you need a break at all? Do you need some water?
What?
You feeling all right? Do you want water?
Oh, no.
Good?
No, I'm just going to get a little bit more now to start off. But that one there was my third child.
You talked about Tom there.
Yeah. You see, Karen, we lost our first one now. And I tell you what, I told the last question, and I come back here, is what made you want to become a Christian? Well, that first child is one that done it. See, we really broke up losing that first one. And so I was in that same shop, and there was a guy that just become a Christian, and he was just on fire for the Lord. And I was down, and feel bad about it. He got a hold of me, and he talked to, and that's when I could have accepted the Lord. In fact, it was kind of funny. He wanted me to talk to and pray with me, with no place to get it. And the men had a good-sized bathroom there. He said, "Come in here," I said. Go in there, and we down to the bathroom stool and prayed, and that's where I accepted the Lord.
And this is at the body shop, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So,
Grandpa, the first one you said you lost your first, was that a miscarriage, or was the baby already born?
No, she Every was born, and she was alive. The doctor said within an hour before she was born. What they call a water head. The valve in her head doesn't go, and her head gets bigger and bigger full of water, and that's where she died.
So it was a girl then?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so anyhow, that's kind of odd too. She's Sonny, so Sonny was a Christian, raised as a Christian, but it was what's the word? Nazarene. And they believe anytime you sin at all, you're lost it. You better get to altar rail and pray, and like they always say, pray through it. And that was, she was raised, and she was away from it because of that. So that same guy that was with me when I accepted the Lord got a hold of the pastor and come to our house that night and talked to Sonny. And I'll never forget, because he thought you could lose it by anything you do, your Christianity. He said, "I got a gift for you." It was a tabor. It seemed to kind of only a penny, but penny was worth something there, not a lot. But he laid a pen on a table in front of her, and said, "I want to give you a gift." Of course, he didn't even look at it in the paper, but hands in why he said, well, I give you a gift, and it's not chill till you take it. And that was the answer, see. So she went, okay, she said, good. Now it's yours, isn't it? But it wasn't yours till you accepted it. That's what Christ has done. He died for you and saved you, but you have to accept it. And that one was she adored. And she died, and ever have anybody do that. Everything you had, pray and pray and pray and pray, and you could do very day. See, so that's where you see accept the Lord both there. And that was in 1943.
Okay. So that was just a couple years after you'd been married.
Well, it was just a year after.
Okay. And that was after the miscarriage.
Yeah.
After the first one. So you guys got pregnant really quick.
No, I got the years wrong then, because we were married in 43 in November, and she was in 44 in October.
Okay.
There wasn't too much in there. Okay. Anyhow, we were safe. but anyhow, that's hard. And then we had Karen, and then Tommy, and then we had a motorcycle wreck just before she got pregnant with Tommy. We had a motorcycle, and
you had a motorcycle,
yeah.
Oh, a motorcycle wreck.
Yeah, oh. and it wrapped her around a light pole and damaged her inside enough that she had having backache. So after she got pregnant, she got to go to the doctor, and he found out what the trouble was. He said, okay, but you're going to have a hysterectomy. Just as soon as Tom was born, then she went in to have a hysterectomy, so we couldn't have any more kids. So that's what started the adopting stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you barely squeaked this guy out.
Yeah. You lucky. You wouldn't have had a father. Well, anyhow, that's about.
Well, do you want to take a break for a little bit?
Well, I think we got enough, haven't we?
Oh, we're only halfway there.
Because
you're only, what, 25 then?
You just got me born, I'm 64, you got a long ways to go.
Yeah. Not everything's on here, but you can, why don't you just keep talking about when you got, tell us about when you started adopting the kids, or tell us about Karen and Jim and Dad and the other people.
Well, it was in Michigan when we went to a kind of an evangelist meeting. You kind of got it out. And went to that, and it was at somebody's house, I remember, but they had a movie screen up there and so on, about kids in Korea and how it wasn't taken care of and everything. And the Lord just kind of talking to it about it, and we decided to try it. So that we let Tom and Karen have a say-so in it. It was messing up their home, see. But I remember we talked about a little boy. We get to get a little boy, a walking boy. We saw it. So we put in for it, and they didn't have one. All they had was a baby girl, 6 months old. And I remember when we talked to Tom and Karen about it, why, Karen was okay about it. Tom said, well, you see, Tom was 10, and I really wanted a baby brother. But then he stood and talked about it. But I would have out a baby sister too. So that's where we started, and that's when we got Becky. And then later we got Dow, and now also all we had in there was a Bateman house. We had bought a lot in Michigan when we moved west in Michigan from Calder, Idaho in 1955, and I had bought a body shop back there, my brother and I together, and
Back in Michigan.
yeah, see, all of his wife's folks, it was from Michigan, all around, and so she had a piece of property there, and so they moved back there and started building on it, but he wanted some work. So his brother-in-law found that body shop for sale. He had it all checked it all out for him and everything. And so we took a word for it and bought it sight unseen, just went and bought it, and it was okay. It done okay. And that's where we moved back to Michigan. Well, it's really a two-stall. You could, but it was quite long. You could put one car, two cars end to end, and the other one just beside it. So it's about three-stall, and a little office in the corner.
Now, I was trying to remember, but I think he told me a story where when you went to pick up Dow, didn't you guys have to wait longer because he got sick?
Yes, yeah.
And didn't you guys have to move from Michigan to Oregon? Did you go?
Well,
You moved to Oregon? Was it pick up
no, we didn't have to. When went to get Dow, we flew from Michigan to Portland to get him. Okay, we got as far to Idaho where my folks was, and called in, and they said he wasn't coming in. He had chicken chops or something like that, and he couldn't get him on the plane. And it might be a much better. Well, all we could do is drive clear back to Michigan again and wait. Well, that's too much money. And my friend there, he was worked in an air base at Mount.
You flew out to get Becky.
Yes.
This one they
drove? Yeah.
drove out to get Dow.
Yeah, but this is a different time. We went out back for Becky. Then this was another time that the following summer to go to get Dow. But we was there and stranded. Either drive back, we drove out there, either drive back and then go again to get him. It was just too much. Well, that's a friend of mine there, he said, well, you don't need to go back here. I'll put you to work here. So he was in building this air base. He was an electrician and in all the underground light wires for the runway lights and all that stuff. He put on a trenching machine that I didn't know what about.
You said you drove a trenching machine once before, right? Like that, right?
No, I didn't do that. He knew me too well. But anyhow, they had rented this trenching machine. They'd rented it and was sitting at a nail out in the desert. The phone was probably half a mile from the air base, but it's all this desert in the Idaho there. But he got in the pickup, got a good battery, put the paper, drove out here. Now, he said, I want you to put this battery in it and get it running and start digging. I know you got the whole desert to dig. I was back a couple hours and see how you're doing. So I didn't know nothing about it. You sit on the side, it's a big outfit, a big boom out here with the chain, and raised nose, and you sit aside of it, and you steer it. It was on rubber, but with the boom up, you'd steer it like it'd been up the front of up there. That's where you're steered. All levers to lower the boom, lever to start the thing. It was inches according now. But I dug and dug. I got to go on and figured this and that. And I got it. He come in. My land, you ever got digging up the whole desert. Come with me. So I just followed you on that thing down in there. He puts a meter, big the runway dicks. I mean, it 12 3/4 inches in wide, and it all about almost 3 foot deep, all the way into the miles of that. And I worked there 3 months at union wage, and made real good money all the time I was there.
Now, when you were doing that, did Karen and Tom and Grandma were all with you? Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Where did you stay with your dad? Because you said he was in Idaho.
No, that's another thing that Lord done for us. He was in a big trailer, and he was living because he was going from job to. But anyhow, we was packed in there some way, had to get a place to live. His little girl come home from school and my teacher wants to talk to you. And her teacher wasn't any about it. So, okay, and we talked to the couple. He said, we hear what you're doing and you need a house to live in it for the summer. And it just happened, we want to rent our house for the summer, and for the summer they had to go to summer school. So we was out 3 months. We was able to slide into a nice house, a canopy to put your car on, everything. If you get the thing, if you're going to go someplace, load your suitcase full of clothes and leave. Everything else is in the house. Toys to play with, and all we had to do is keep the lawn mowed and keep it watered and live there for $100 a month. And that was a pretty good price they made, but it was cheap for us.
Yeah.
And we never seen them again because we would move out, and they said one more week they'd be home wanting a house. They did that. If I ain't answered the prayer, I don't know what to be. It fit just right.
Now, when they came back and you had to move out, was Dal ready to be picked up then? Were you able to
yes.
go to Portland?
We'd gotten the message to come again, and when it went on to Portland and get him.
That's good timing.
Yeah.
Do you remember living there, Dad?
Mm-hmm.
Right, you ought to sit closer to the camera. Good.
Well, I was thinking last night of a thing I should tell you, Neil. See, I was telling you we'd moved from Lincoln up to northwestern corner of Nebraska. It called it Panhandle of Nebraska.
Oh yeah, the Panhandle.
Yeah, and what happened when we got there? It told me we took
Lincoln to where?
at Martland, Nebraska, and where the Panhandle of, and it right next to South Dakota, in the end of the mountains of South Dakota. It's real.
Is that on the east side or the west side of northern Nebraska?
It's west, just a little ways in Wyoming.
Okay, so northwestern Nebraska.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And but anyhow, what I was thinking about the time when we took that sleigh ride in Steamer Horton up here, that we landed on a ranch that my Aunt Lula and her husband was Bill, and their names was Moravely. And anyhow, they had that ranch rented, and he was running cattle on there. Well, that's where we had, and he had died.
How many acres is that?
I don't, a lot, that's all I know. Probably couple of square miles, I suppose. And it was always big ranches and that was made live. But when we got there, he had died, and that's the reason we went on to my tragic brother had died with cancer, and that's why we went up that far. Then that 20 miles on, he took a little short time after he died. And so that left my Aunt Lula with 7 kids. And what was she going to do? And the place was rented. He had no way of paying the rent. It was a mess. So we took over, my dad took over the place there and did it what he could until he had to move because of the rent money.
Did you happen to know anything about ranching and farming?
Yes, he did. A lot more than anybody thought. He had a team of horses there that what we call, well, the army camp had can't think of it, in the army camp, you know, about 20, 30 miles from there, had these horses, and they couldn't do anything with it. And they had whipped him so hard that, and across the nose and stuff, to get him in line, and they couldn't do anything with him. So my uncle, before he died, bought those horses. And he found out if they were good horses, if he didn't touch their nose in any way, because it whipped over the nose. So, anyhow, he told my dad before he died. So my dad could handle them, and they were good horses. But if you touched their nose, they just wear up and charge a car in the winter. Car in the, you know, and so you couldn't. But my dad could handle them. So he made the horses. And he was, so the Sunday day, about people hooking the horses up to a log to drag it out of the wood. People just start them and they won't cart. He taught me something. He said, what you do, the log here, put the horses off to one side a little bit, start the log rolling, then ahead. Makes sense. Instead of, well, things like that he taught. And I remember, but what I was going to say, we went to school, and the school was out of town so far. The school teacher lived with us.
The school teacher, is that what you said?
Huh?
The school teacher lived with them.
The school teacher had to live with us, and we'd walk to school just a short distance down to Canyon and across the creek and up the side of the care, and the school was there in just one room, a little small room. But I was going to say, years after, I went back there and to see, well, after Sonny and I were married, he went snooping around, and I've got a picture at that old school. There's one room I don't think it was maybe 24 square or something, in one room, and the cows was walking through it then. But I got a picture of that old school.
Did they learn anything back down in school?
I never did any in his school.
You never learned the cows, huh?
But I've thought of them kind of things. But what happened before we left that ranch, nobody knew it, but my dad thought my Uncle Bill was a bootlegger, and if that was the case, he was in trouble. And when we was cleaning the old dog cellar out, where they had things stored and getting ready to move.
Selling?
Huh?
The cellar you were cleaning out?
Well, it was old Doug cellar, like a potato cellar, where they were mostly underground stuff. Anyhow, we was cleaning out, and a guy on a horseback rode up there. He thought my dad had something to do with what my uncle was doing. But we started getting all over my dad. I was proud of my dad. My dad just took a little while. He said, "Now, are you all done?" "What do you mean all done?" "Well, you better get your ass out over here. I'm going to jerk her off that horse. I'm going to beat the crap out of her." That's the way my dad done, and he meant it. And the guys kind of shut up and listened. "Yeah, okay," and my mom and drove off. But I was proud of my dad that he didn't make only about so much, and he cared about it. And he could do it too. Well, anyhow, that was where we went to school there, and I must have been not probably the first grade when we was in there. Then we moved over to a nice house about a mile away. See, my aunt rented that place, and of course we all was in the house, the same house. All of it couldn't afford anything of it. But on that way, we walked to school, about 2 miles to school. And wintertime, we'd go out, follow a little creek down the little trail, and in wintertime, we walk on the ice motor. It was all frozen over to school. So we done that quite a bit, back and forth in summer. Summertime was nice, wintertime it's really cold.
Sorry, you say it was all this still in the Panhandle?
Yes.
Okay. Was the name of again? Marsland.
Well, Mars wasn't 20 miles out. This could.
Oh, you said you moved a few miles out.
Yeah, about 20 miles. That's where my uncle went down to Marlin, where we were with my grandpa, and he moved, and that's what it is. We took the sleigh and went contrary to this ranch, because there's no other way to get there. Cars couldn't get through, and there's big snowbanks and everything, So, but
do you know where your grandfather or your dad? Do you know where they were born? Were they both born in America?
Oh yeah, my dad was born in Seneca, Nebraska. It's just about in the Calder Sand Hills, about the middle of Nebraska. She was born in Marlin. That when my dad met her. See, my dad was a railroad man. He was a fireman on the railroad. And then when they had built up the steam in the engine, it was coal. And it was so cold, the fireman would shovel coal air in and out of the, into the firebox.
Yeah.
And he was, when she met him, he was a railroad man, and he was around in Lincoln, Nebraska, and down in that was where the roundhouse was, what they called the roundhouse of the where they built the locomotives and stuff there. So they go from there, and that would be the southeastern part of Nebraska, clear up into Montana, back and forth at railroad, and so that's how he met her, because Mars was in between, and there was a hotel there, and then the guys would get a motel, or that old hotel, and she met him there, and that's where we got together.
I haven't heard much about Grandma.
Well,
Your grandma, great grandpa, said much about her.
How did you just met her at the hotel? Or I remember you telling some story. She went to the train. He proposed, but she wasn't sure he was going to show, so she went to the train or something. And if he didn't come, she was going to get a ticket someplace or something. I can't remember how that
it was something like that. Yeah. Well, see, in one way, my grandpa, my mother's father, the one that died of cancer, well, he was they call a drayman. You know, he had horses and wagon, and he would go to train, pick up the mail, freight, all that, and take it to the post office, and that freight he would deliver all miles out during the week to the farmers.
Truck drivers.
Yes, and what's called a drayman. I remember I was just big enough to stand up and walk into, and I was on the just empty. It's a hay rack with there was no side board, like it would just a front board. He would get hang onto the front and drive his horse, and my grandma, and when I remember him, he was standing like all men do, just standing, touching nothing, arranging his hand, and the horses trotting along. And I was trying my best to stand. Finally, I got I didn't have to hang on nothing. That was big. And he handed me the reins. I never got a gap. So things like that you remember about Grandpa.
You were talking about Grandpa working a belly dump trailer or something, building roads with mules or something?
Yeah.
When was that?
Well, at the same little town of Marsden, but there was a big sand draw going down there. It would run with flood time.
Sand draw?
Yeah, and it run full of, it was a canyon, a small canyon, but you had to cross it, which was, probably along this house or better. And when it rained and the flood out, car wouldn't go across it because the exhaust would go down under the water. It wouldn't kill the engines. So they had a team of horses that right there got to making money, dragging them on across, see.
Pull the cars across?
Yeah, pull the car. Well, that's what he was doing. They were finally building a bridge across, and it had bricks. But they all teamwork and dumping wagon, and they would load the thing full of dirt and haul it out and then bottom and open and dump it, go back after another load. So that's what they were doing and making the bridge across the thing.
And he had his mules for that, right?
Oh yeah. Well, they had a lot of teams going on, probably 6 or 8 wagons, dump wagons and teams. My dad nobody wanted the mules. My dad took and he said, that's one as a whole bunch. Once he got onto you working.
Yeah.
My dad was a good horseman.
Yeah.
He got good at, but it was kind of funny. Everybody working, said they were going to be the first one to drive across it. My dad died at a 1926 Jewett, and was made by Graham Page. Graham Page.
Graham Page?
Mm-hmm. And, but anyhow, he had it all parked there. Everybody was going to, just as soon as got it built up, they had about, I suppose, as high, needed filled in yet before we got on the paved bed. My dad looked it over, said, pretty good. He wanted to got her car, and he jumped at one wheel time to go. He was the first one across the bed. Everybody was mad at him, and they were going to be first. But things like that he told was good.
Must have been the Smith thing. He had to be
Yeah. Well, I don't know what else I could think of things to.
Or maybe back when you and Mom were young, and you said when you first married, you guys lived in a little 14-foot or 12-foot or something camp trailer. Camp trailer.
That was Sonny and I's first home, and it was a factory built trailer. It was called covered wagon. Was the name of it. And
how big was it?
14 feet long.
14 feet.
And
so you didn't have a guest room in there, huh?
Not really. And for the bathroom, of course, was on my dad's property, and everywhere there, and it was an outhouse, so we shared that. But we had it was a factory built and had what I call wood or coal stoves to heat it with. It was just, I wish I had, wasn't over this big around and just about that tall, but it looked just like a Potbelly's heating stoves. And I remember nut coal, 3 lumps of nut coal would fill it. And at that, and sat down, heated at a nice speed, kept it very nice and warm in there.
How many times did you have to put coal in it at night?
Well, we didn't keep it warm at night. Them days you covered up and kept it warm.
Saved the coal for when you needed it.
Yeah, and then for cook's coal.
You have like this little tiny coal bucket that you carry with your little fingers.
I don't know, but it wasn't much, didn't need much. But then we had a gas stove, where a camp gas stove over and to pump up the gasoline, and that was your cook stove.
How long did you live in that?
Oh, probably, I know all winter and part of the summer. Mm-hmm.
You said this was when you and Grandma were first married, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Then did you, from there, that little house across from Grandpa's that I was born, is that we built that, but when I just bought it, it was nothing but a one-room chicken house that somebody had changed and cleaned up and put a forward and was living in it. I bought 2 lots. It was on 2 lots, 25 foot, so it's 50 by 125 feet lots. Anyhow. A lot was only 25 feet wide?
Mm-hmm.
Were there scarce of property there?
I know that's what they were, and we had 2 of them, so it made it 50 feet wide, and that's what we lived in there until built a house.
So you lived in the chicken house and then built that little house, right?
Mm-hmm. Somebody had done it before. It made out of bats. You know what that 1x12 up and down, and the 2x wasn't studs. They were round side.
Like furlings.
Yes, and then they get this blue building paper. Something like tar paper, but it wasn't tar. But for interior, and it come across down the wall and it holds this right down. So there's only one thickness between you and the outdoors. It's pretty cold in the air.
What did you eat that way?
Well, we bought it. It was kind of funny. We bought a stove. We knew where it's a Saturday sale. You always have Saturday sales and auction sale. When somebody had a real nice old-fashioned cook stove with a warming oven up above, and it was big. We got that. It was kind of funny.
You burn wood in it?
Yes, wood and coal.
Wood and coal.
Mostly coal. But I'm trying to think of what. Anyhow, well, we put that in there. When it kept sinking, I told Sonny to go to this hill. I was working. I said, don't give any more than $1 for that stove. And well, $1 with a day's wages. Well, yeah, $1 with a day's wages. See, so that wasn't pretty much. So, anyways, he finally bought it, and what he told me after he paid $1.25 for it. And see, they would have been to get another guy, and he said, when it come to $5, and he said 5 as well, and he said, well, 5 1/4. And he looked at it, well, if a little lady wanted that better, he'd let her have it. Then she would say she spent 2 months' money, and she told me I could go get the stove, she was afraid to tell me that she had $1.25 too much. But that's where we got the stove, but it was a nice stove, and that's heated every day as well as cooking everything. But then we built.
How many was that just like a 1-bedroom
Yeah.
house with
It all we'd count on one end, which you hook up into a bed, and
Is that where you slept in, and the couch you folded out into the bed? So you didn't have a bedroom,
no,
just one room.
the one room for everything.
Karen and I were born in that.
Well, no, we had our newer house built before both of you.
That was the chicken house.
Mm-hmm.
Now the newer house, Grandpa helped you build that?
Yeah, he built the whole things. He was a good carpenter, and
How
so.
big was that? That
Well,
must have been about 2
that
bedrooms.
24 by 24. That had a small bedroom, then a little larger one, and that bathroom, inside the bathroom, and then living room and kitchen.
Now, what were you doing for work at this time, Grandpa? This was before you got into body work, right?
No, I was driving record at the time.
That was when you were driving the record?
Yeah, that, working into the body shop, yeah.
Okay. So your dad was a pretty good carpenter then. He built that house.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, he was a good carpenter.
He built the house, that nice house that they had. He built it, you said, out of all scrap, like pallets and scrap lumber, that house.
Well, that's no, he built of good lumber, but what you're saying is shop. He built out of the city dump, yeah.
He got the wood out of the city dump.
Well,
the shop.
all was metal. He had enough for structure. His 2-by-4. Then we kept going to see the city dump. Anybody could go in, take whatever wanted, dump it up and everything. So we in signboard, any kind like a stop sign, any kind of signboard we do, and we sheeted that whole thing with sheet metal.
From stop signs
And it's and
Refrigerator doors.
yeah,
shop. Yield, stop.
Then even the paint, everybody dumped we found several gallons of gray paint. I don't know what it was from, why they dumped it, but we had enough paint to paint the whole thing. Made it look pretty nice.
Now, did your dad, did great grandpa, did he have a torch? Did he weld stuff together? How did he build the structure? He had just the right sizes. He could cut them down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we didn't have no electricity, and so didn't have any power or nothing. Everything went done.
With no gas torch either. Nothing.
No. We had a bolt torch, but you couldn't do that. You know what a bolt torch is.
Well, yeah, like a setting.
With the blow the flame gasoline, it's a gasoline and pumped up, and then you light, and they blow the flame out about that far.
So you use them to heat big soldering irons.
Mm-hmm.
solder with.
That was most of what he had done,
With
soldering.
Like a propane torch.
Gotcha.
And every time they drilled a hole, it was an old bracing bit. And,
Took a long time to build that, probably.
yeah,
A lot of work.
Now, you and Grandpa were wrecking out cars you talked about. Was that after you went to Caldwell? Where you worked at the
that's
wrecking yard?
where we went from.
That was,
That was when we went into northern Nebraska. Then we moved back to Lincoln, and that's where he was
so
getting
when you
that.
worked at the wrecking yard and learned to do glass, auto glass, that was
Yeah.
in Nebraska?
That's at Lincoln. That was all that started.
So did you guys, when you moved to Idaho when Darrell was in the service?
Yeah.
So when he came home, you guys were gone, huh?
Yeah. Well, yeah, when we was in Lincoln, went through, after all that stuff I was talking about, that was in the north of Tacoma, Nebraska. Then we moved back to Lincoln, but my dad had property there and the house partly built, and then just this tar paper shack he had been living in, and he started the house. He had all the structure up, no heating or not on it, when we had to go northern Nebraska because my grandfather was sick.
Tell me the story you told about when we left that little farm in where I can't say the name outside of Caldwell, where Karen.
Yeah.
What was the name of that little area?
Well, it was Hartley Gulch Plain.
No, but it was. I can't say the name of that little burg out there though.
Weezer.
Where we had the little tiny farm when we left to go to Michigan.
Yeah.
What was the name of that area?
Well, I don't know. That it always called it Hartley Gulch because that was the name
What
of
was the
it.
name of the school that Karen
With Middleton School.
Was that Middleton area?
Yeah, well, it's Middleton with about 5, 6 miles from where we was at, but that's where she went to school.
I can remember, and I got it all confused, but it seems like you told a story like when you called Mom and said we were going to Michigan to pack, and you were coming home and we left like that night or something crazy?
But that wasn't moving, that was just going before we moved there.
So then we came back and got that little trailer, and you tried to pull that hay trailer and it wouldn't pull, and you went back.
But that's when we were moving.
Okay, well tell us about both of those
Well,
stories.
Darrell was going to see,
He was in Michigan.
he wanted to go with and travel to there, and we just, we can't do it, I already had my vacation. But I got to talking to some of the guys, and so Darrell went ahead, and just 12 hours after Darrell left, I had found out I could go, and one of the guys, I'll trade vacations with you, and so they did. So I called Sonny and I said, get away, we're heading out tonight. That's what you talk.
Okay,
So-
somehow I was thinking that's when we moved, you told Mom, gave her like 5-10 hour notice.
No, and when we moved, but then when we moved like that, that's what you two were talking about the trailer.
We had that old
We-
four-wheel hay trailer. you tried to
Well,
tow it.
we made the trailer into a tandem axle trailer, but thing whipped so bad, we just got it over and installed that, and it wouldn't work. So we just got it back and dumped it, told one of the guys that helped me build there, take it, you sell it, whatever. And so we rented a U-Haul trailer and headed out.
And that little Willie's trailer that you cut the front out of and put that big old freezer in it,
Yeah.
I thought that was all we had. That was just something Mom towed, or? I remember you taking that trailer that whipped back, and then you took that little Jeep pickup box trailer, a little teeny one, you cut the front of it out and bent it down and put that big
Oh,
chest
now
freezer
that's
in
a
it,
complete different
filled
time.
it up with stuff and took off.
That was in Michigan after we.
No, you pulled that chest
I got it.
Middleton.
I bought that trailer from Herschel Smallwood, but had took it to Michigan once, and then when I come back to get some more stuff, that's when I cut the front out
Put
and
that big freezer.
I put 7-foot long freezer in it and pulled it.
Now, when we moved the first time, though, you just left the house, told Grandpa to sell it or something, and
No,
backed up and-
no, I had a realtor selling it.
I got a lot of stories mixed up.
Yeah. Then we met to Michigan, and Darrell and I bought that body shop together, and went to work at it as soon as we got to Michigan.
Now, that little trailer that we bought when Karen and I were little, we lived down by the lake, and then you pulled it up on that hill with a bulldozer.
Yeah. Now that was
How
a
big
big.
was that?
That was the. I think that was 40 feet long.
Yeah.
It wasn't made to pull, but when a truck brought it over from Ludington over to Michigan when I bought it, and then we put it, and then Les had lessened on, had the excavating outfit. We always borrowed his equipment. He had.
I remember you pulled it up that hill behind
Yeah.
Darrell's, and it wasn't even, a Jeep might have gone up there in four-wheel drive. It wasn't
Yeah.
even a
But
real
he
road.
had to
You
take
guys
that.
pulled that trailer up.
I think that is a D2 Cat, a small of a small.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I think that what we used and hooked that thing and put it almost up a
It was
straight
pretty
slope.
steep.
But I know one time he had the track and he had the wheels about in the center. Oh, you see, it was this much hang over the back. And when we had to turn it to get it straight up, we got up there. Yeah, we got to get it. And then we moved, well, you lived in that, on Darrell's property, one winter, I guess. And then I bought that property from Bob Seeger. They were a few, I forget how many, but anyhow, a couple of years at the ground I bought from him. And that's where we started building.
Yeah.
All we had was the basement house we were living in. That was going to be a long up layer. And then Jack sold me a nice house already done on
And
that.
that was only like a 1.5 stall garage that we lived in, and that
Yeah.
was going to be 1.5 stall, and you made it into like a
It was,
an open basement.
yeah, it was going to be one stall guard with storage with them when it was the bed was now, and then the other end would do 2 room. It was made pretty nice living. You keep out of this.
Hey, just keep talking. You can tell him how much you love him.
Well, I don't know what else to say.
Talk about, I remember when you had that Harley and Mom had the little Jawa.
Oh, yeah?
Karen and I'd get on behind and we'd go for a ride.
Yeah? Mm-hmm.
You talked about your and Grandma's trips on the Moto Guzzi too, going all over the country.
Oh, yeah.
Probably a lot of good stories there.
Did Mom drive that Jawa very much, or?
Quite a little bit.
Yeah,
How about the red? They had the-
that was like 250 or something, small, wasn't it?
And no, that was, it never went by size like other motorcycles, so, but I don't know
It was a
what.
1-cylinder though, wasn't it?
Yeah, one
I
cylinder.
think those had 2 pistons, but one had 2 plugs. They worked like a 1-cylinder, but they had 2 pistons. In
Well,
them, 2
it was,
pipes.
It was an a two-cycle.
Cycle. Did it have two exhaust pipes on it though? Didn't it?
I couldn't tell you.
Some of those they made with, it looked like a twin, but the cylinders went up and down together and they had one head, one common head.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it fired like, it ran just like a single, only it had a bigger dual plug head and two exhaust pipes, but the heads communicated. There wasn't any gasket between the two cylinders, so it worked like a one cylinder. Just for the cooling and the spacing. But I'm not sure that one.
I don't know how that was built, but
It might have been a 400 at the biggest, but I think those were only between 250
It
and
was
400
quite
cc.
small.
They were small.
I would guess it's some 125 gets in my mind. It wasn't big.
Yeah, that'd be pretty small. It could have been.
I know I traded that in on, remember Bill Gilbert, did that ringing the bell? Darrell have his sub with him. And he's the one that had that Harley Davidson, I can't see the moment now.
Was it 65 or something?
Yeah,
That knucklehead you had?
but like the 74 was the big one, biggest one they had. Well, this
That's a
here,
lot of power back then.
and this one was a 61, but in them days, all their Harleys were flatheads. This was the first overhead valves, and it was 61 cc, or not cc, horsepower. Anyhow, the police sealed them because it was hot, real hot, but one of it was geared lower and wasn't all that fat. 95 is as fast as it would go, but
Pretty quick on an
but
old
it's-
bike, no brakes probably.
yeah, nothing. But I had that, and that thing would go so good. I could gear shift on the cranks and on a cast tank,
Yeah.
4-speed, and I just start off. I'd love to show off and get in town. Just crank, you got on off just to get it rolled, and I said, pull it out for in the second and crank it on, drop the clutch, and it's braking it, and the tire brake loose, and it just goes screaming up, like that, and stay for the gear. So it was a hot one. But
Tell me about Dad when he was little. You built him that tractor car thing that
Yeah.
was half tractor and half a truck, and he used
no, it just looked like a garden tractor.
oh, it was little, like a lawnmower.
Yeah,
tractor. I
it
always
had
thought that-
full-size car wheels on the back, and 8-inch wheels on the front, which I put one or something go through the can, and a guy got me 2 tires off of a Piper Club airplane, and they fit on them 8-inch rim, so it made small spots and the tires on the front, but wide, go through the sand, and then the regular car tires on the back. So, and that had 5-horse gasoline engine on it, and geared down with a small package on the motor and a big one down on the transmission. So it geared down there. Then it went through the one transmitted. Then I put another transmission behind that, hooked them in there, two shifting levers. And Tom will,
3 shifting levers.
yeah,
That front transmission was a column shift, so you had 2 levers. One was
yes,
first and
yes.
second, one was reverse, first and third, reverse and second.
But he could split his old gears, and finally found out double reverse would take you ahead instead of backwards, because we reversed one, but it
Reverse
pushed
it again.
in the other, brought it direct.
But it was a little lower than double first, so I could.
Yeah,
if I
that's
was
what
really
I'm
going, I'd
yeah.
take off and double reverse, and I'd have to shift both transmissions simultaneously. But the one that had the Rambler transmission that was a column shift, so it had 2 stick shifts, so you had to put one in neutral and grab the other one, stick it in reverse while you're doing this one in reverse, so it was like 3 shifts to make one.
The good thing, he caught on that so good, and what you, about 9 years old, anyhow, he come home one day and he was so proud that his state police pulled off the side of it in Michigan Salt hand, and he got his rig stuck, couldn't get out. And
Police was stuck?
And Tom come home, he talked the guy and let him hook on the chain and pull him out. He pulled the state police back onto the pavement. He was so pleased he could do that.
Just 9-year-old.
Well, I was running that thing up and down the highway all the time to go over to the lake and always dodging the police. I had all these little routes that went off into the woods and back on the pavement and crossed. And I come along, there was the sheriff, and I thought, oh, I'm in trouble. And it turned out he was stuck. And I went down there and I go, can I give you a pull? And he looked at me like, yeah, right, you know. And I go, I can pull you out of there, I think. And he's kind of looking at me and goes, well, give it a try. So I put that thing in double reverse and I'd crank it and it wouldn't go. The front end would lift off the ground. And when I got the front tires about 2 feet off the ground, I'd let off the clutch and let it come down. And when I just get about to the ground, I'd nail it and it would just hop. It would just bite in. And I did about 3 jerks like that and popped them up on the road. He just let me go after that.
Oh, that's something to.
Hey, Grandpa, can you tell me a little more about adopting all the girls and Uncle Dow?
Well,
we talked a little bit about going to pick up Uncle Dow, but I guess we didn't really talk much about that.
Yeah, well, when the whole thing started, we went to a person's house, showing some films on adoption in Korean and how they was so kids were just getting tossed out, nobody take care of them, and so I guess when the Lord just spoke to us about, and we caught thinking about it, and that's what got us started, and we caught Becky first, and I think we told a little bit about yesterday about.
Actually, you talked about going out and getting Dal, and we
lived at the teacher's house.
You rented and everything, you found a home, but you didn't say much about Becky. When you and Mom went by yourself and flew out there.
Well, Becky was our first one.
Have you guys flown anywhere before that?
No. We just, yeah, to get Becky, we had to fly from Michigan to Portland to get her. And
you guys had probably never been on a plane before, I'll bet.
Well, hardly. There was the old four-motor prop jobs, like that. We flew all the way out there. It was kind of funny when we first get on the airplane. It was this little cub. We had to get on in Manistee and fly to Chicago. And Sonny was scared to get on, and they start their motor and warm them up, turn up a little more and warm them. I said something about looking out. I'm not going to look at. And we had seesaw with it up in the air. He was just warm and even up. I finally talked to her and look out the window. Finally, she felt like it in it, and we wasn't even on the ground.
She thought you were in the air and you guys were still on the ground. Huh?
But anyhow, we got to Chicago, and then we got the four-motor passenger job then, and we went out to Portland and picked up Beck there. And Herschel Smarwood, you don't know him, a real good friend of ours, and we was trying to figure how we was going to do that because we didn't have the money enough to two of us fly from Michigan to Portland. And we finally figured out, well, if if I would go and get her and come back, all people will help. If I had a baby in my hand, all the women on the place would be helping me. You want, because you tell oh man, you need to help. But Herschel Smallwood lived in Boise, and we were talking on the phone back and forth. He said, I got a better idea than that. He said, you got enough money to get both of you to Portland. Yeah, you get there and I'll be and pick you up. And so he did. He drove from Boise to Portland. He had a new Buick at the time. And he got a motel. He wouldn't let us spend a dime. Got us a motel for the night. And all the eating out. Back to Mountain Home, Caldwell now there, where he lived in Mountain Home, 40 miles. And then when we got to get the ticket on the payment to fly back, he was in there and bought the tickets for us. Now, that's what he done. Yeah, now he wanted to know, all I expect is when anything happened, you remember that little Indian blood Pog's partly me.
That little what?
A little Indian, he said, Pog's me. He just that kind of a person. He never would have died forward. He was just that way. But you get to thinking that is all connected. You got to give the Lord thanks for all that stuff. And another thing, remember when we got to Chicago? We couldn't get out of Chicago. The whole state of Michigan was iced over. Planes were, and the only thing what was the train. And it was overpacked. Everybody was doing it, couldn't get out. We was in Chicago in the airport for 12 hours. No, not enough diapers, and she had diarrhea. She was 6 months old.
Becky.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking Grandma for a minute.
No, Papa too. But anyhow, that what happened. But we sat and got acquainted, man and his son, and talked to him and all that time. He's funny. He said, how would you like to share a rental car and get out of this place? And he lived up in about 100 and some miles from where we did in Michigan. Well, yeah, let's do that. So he rented a car, and we got in and moved up to Grand Rapids with him. I didn't know anything about it. When we dove in the yard with that rental car in the yard, 2 garage doors open and a Cadillac in one. 2 Cadillacs in the yard. And that was Mr. Bolthouse, his name was. And he raised Gerber baby food in the field. And I didn't know who it was, and he man was pretty good money. And so him and his son were there, and I called Darrell, and Darrell then come after my late to pick us up all home. But that's where we got there, and he wouldn't take any money for the rental car. And I let the money on the table as Darrell come in and went. And when our body shop, there was a salesman that we knew pretty well, and he found out about and all about. And one day he come in with the money. He said Mr. Bolthouse wouldn't take the money. He gave it back to me. Yeah. So it's just things like that. You think about how the Lord works and out for you. got it there and back. Everything worked out good.
Ray was wanting you to talk about moms, something that maybe Karen and the girls would like to hear about mom or something. About when you got her a puppy or something when she lost that first baby. I think you were talking about that.
Oh, yeah. Well, that first baby was born dead, but one.
Died right after anyway.
Yeah. Well, when she was alive, the doctor said just about 1 hour before she was born. She was still moving in. But anyhow, this friend of ours was, well, I told you about the guy that bought me Little Lord. And, well, he come in to a hospital. And he's, I don't know what got him to do it, but it worked. He said, I brought you a present, and a little tiny puppy, and he had overcoat. Oh, it had a long overcoat. Yeah, had it in the pocket. Well, you can't take a dog in the hospital. It's just a little hospital. I got by the nurse and kind of held my hand over her mouth, so yep, and then threw it down to the bedroom, to our room. Oh, Sonny just held that little dog. Well, she had a murderly instinct, you know, and nothing. So she really loved that little dog. So he really had to take it back out. He said he put it back in his, he said, he got, much to the deck, and little dog, yep, he put his hand over, and they just got out at the desk, picked up, and it wasn't like a one run, he says, yep, he says, like it was him doing, right on out. But anyhow, that was a part of that dog stuff.
So did you keep that dog?
Oh, yes, and
what was his name?
Corky. They named it Corky, I don't know why. But it's the one that kept us. It was our alarm clock. It would put it by the bed, and that little bunkhouse out in the chicken house was in there. Put it by the bed and on a coat. It always let us wake up at the right time in the morning. We'd go to Sunday school. One Sunday was late. It's going to be asked, what was wrong? He said, our alarm clock didn't work. And then I was wondering why. Well, what happened? He had got his head down in the sleeve of a coat, couldn't get out, so it didn't to wake up, and we were late. But that's the dog stuff. But that little dog meant so much to, well, both of us really, but both me, Sonny. And it caught I heard the doctor say it was cutting teeth. And I don't heard about it, and it was kind of sick. And we was afraid it something happen. And I was working. Sonny started down about a mile down the gravel road to the veterinarian, and she would carry the little dog down here. When remember Ralph Durham, he told me later, he was down and seen her hurrying down there. He said, get her in the car. And she was so upset, no, so I can run faster. He said, get in, get his car. He said, that's when they found out, the doctor said, he's just cutting cheese.
It was all right.
Yeah, we come out.
How long before Karen was born after that? You were in you built the new house then? Or?
Yes, she would have been in that house because it's that.
You had moved into the little new house when she was born.
Into the new house.
And did Mom work during that time at all before Karen was born?
Only, I guess she worked about a month, but before Karen the born at Basketball, just to temporarily fill in job or something. And then the only other times he ever worked was in Manistee. During Christmas, they needed help in the catalog department of Sears, and she went to work here. That's the only time she's ever worked.
What work did she do when you met her? She worked at the drugstore?
She was in a diamond store. Yeah, see what we started going there. She was engaged to a guy when we just started going, but they wasn't doing much. And he was real nice sort of a guy. He was a farmer out in the country here, but she said it just didn't match. And so when we started going together, the boss at the diamond store, she went and so she could quit her job because she was getting married. And he said, well, what you married, a big one or a little one? She did a little one. When that happened just that quick.
And she quit her job to get married.
Yeah, well, was my idea. I said, I don't mind my wife working. So she quit her job. Well, I was out every night work, and I missed 2 days of work. It didn't call in, not according to use phones anyhow, hardly. But I finally went to work, and we all covered hose for each person's stuff. I opened mine. My check was in, paid in full. They didn't tell me I was fired or not, but I didn't get to work enough, so there I was out of a job, and she was out of a job, and we was married.
That was before you got the record job?
Yeah. And I went right there working in the apple picking, and I worked 4 days picking apples, and one morning, early in the morning, I heard that tap on the door, and I got telling him, the guy was there, one of our friends there, get up and burn to the layer, hiring a record driver. That's where I got in.
Tell the story about Grandma and Aunt Karen when that guy was trying to kidnap Aunt Karen. Remember when Grandma got shot?
That wasn't no kidnap, but he was planning on a rape job when he was planning that. He told the school kids that's what he was going to do. He said he was going to have her if he had to kill the family to do it. When he talked about it, now I got this to him.
Wasn't this a guy that worked at the shop?
Yes.
You knew him at the shop?
Oh yeah, we know his family, everything. Went to church with him and everything. So that was thing, but I forget what it was starting from. Well then,
Dean Hodgson.
Yeah, Dean Hodgson was his name, but he had told it around the kids in school so much that the sheriff told me that he found that out. And he sold it around so much, he figured he had to go through it after back.
He was talking about it.
Oh,
the
yeah.
Sheriff even caught word of it before he did this.
No, the sheriff, after it happened, their sheriff looked into it and found out about it. That's what he's planning, and that's what he almost had to go through with. Then I threatened the soldier, the lawyer out of the window. Well, my pastor and I went. He went to the lawyer and tried to what should we do, and that lawyer was a kind of a mad ass, and I told him the sheriff told me. Who told you that? I said, I'm not going to tell you, because the sheriff was good enough to tell me, and he said, now don't tell anybody, you'll get me in trouble. But that is absolute. And so, well, you'll tell me, he said. Oh, I was mad. I stood up, I said, I forget what I called him, and he was upstairs. I said, I don't tell you nothing. And he could smart over to me, I'm going to throw you out of the river. Boy, he shut his mouth. He didn't ask no more. And them guys think they, because I'm a lawyer, you could tell I tell him. It didn't work with me. I'll tell you, several times that things I had to get hot, get things straightened out. But the family of the boy are best friends. So you had to feel sorry for them. They was really suffering over their son doing this.
No, they were really good friends with you guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They were real good neighbors. And actually what happens, this boy that done that, he had an adopted brother, same age as him. He was wanting to go with Karen, and he was mad, more or less, jealousy then. So he was going to do something, have her, because of that. See, so this whole family thing. Anyhow, it worked out, but
whatever happened to the guy, Deep?
Yeah. Well, they took the law in Michigan at that time. We found out under 17 they couldn't ticket them for nothing. Same as they didn't even do it because they were not responsible so much for themselves. So they couldn't do nothing to him. So they did send him out of town about 100 and some miles and put him in kind of a foster home. That's all they could do. See, he stayed there and home off and on back to the Lord. And I didn't like him, and that's one of the reasons we left Michigan to come to Portland.
Oh, okay.
Because they wouldn't do nothing with him. The law couldn't do nothing with him. So that's one of the reasons we decided to move out of there and get out of the state.
So I take it you probably never saw him again.
Oh, we didn't see him in just an occasion with his family. Yeah, but his family stayed close to us. In fact, when we moved to Portland, his family was out for some reason, and they come to visit us when it was in Portland. But they told us then, we were wondering what he was doing, and he said for a year or so he worked with the people he was working with. He was an oddball. He wouldn't just buy a loner, didn't want to talk to nobody. See, we were hurting him. But then they said that later he accepted the Lord, and we were strong with the Lord. So all in all, it turned out pretty good for him. No, so I'm just going to do a little bit more now to start off.
Snow's falling in Michigan.
I have to remember that.
Show the skin.
No, I didn't do that. He knew me too well. At a quarter too much. But that's always you keep out of this. Little dog. Yep. He put his hand over. And they just galloped at the desk picked up, and it was like a one run. He said, yep, like what's him doing, man, on out. But it held up with the part of, he said, get in, get his car. he said, that's when they found out that he's just
road
cutting trees.
behind's what led me in. I think I'm gonna stay. Untie your heart and let it fly, fly away. Fly, fly away. Oh, fly, fly away. Smiling faces I've never seen. They don't know my past, they just know me. We'll dance all night till we can't move, and stay up late with the man in the moon. Talk for hours, laugh till we cry, until we say goodbye. Goodbye. It's a new day. It's a new day. It's a new